I grew up in the small mountain town of Estes Park, Colorado, which is just outside the entrance to Rocky Mountain National Park. I'd look up to guys like Zach, who always seemed to be covered in snow from cross-country skiing down a mountain, and friends like Sarah, climbing up the side of a mountain with only a rope and her own skill holding her there. And as I've gotten older, I've met people like Michael, with muddy feet from running across the paths on a mountain trail, who have all inspired me to get outside. But they've also been a little intimidating as well, because they could do these really difficult-looking outdoor activities. The thing about all these people, though, is that they all started in the same place, with a little spark of adventure flickering around in their soul. Armed with that spark, they went outside. We all have the spark of adventure in us, so why aren't more of us getting outside? I want to tell you that you can explore your own backyard and be inspired to make changes for the planet that needs our aid. I found that there are 3 major reasons why people don't get outside. Money, time, and they think it'll be a struggle. These things have definitely held me back in the past, but the thing is, the more we tell ourselves no, the more anxious we get, and then we give up and we get depressed, and we end up believing those things. And they're a lie. We can't give up here. Our planet needs us to say yes. I visited Moab in Utah this summer. It's next to the amazing Arches National Park, where there are over 2,000 documented arches just in the park alone. So rain falls down on these sandstone structures that have different layers of rock, and then they erode at different rates, creating these massive structures out of rock. Have you ever seen anything like this? Because there's places like this in Colorado, and it's definitely on my list of places to go. When we went to Arches this summer, it cost us less than $350 for the whole trip, and we spent 3 nights there camping at a campground with a pool, and we drove. We also had 3 kids under 6 years old, and I spent less than $130 for all 3 nights. A couple ways I've found to help with the finances of travel is, one is an app called Acorns, which is an investment company that it will round up the spare change from your purchases, and then it will put it in an account to save or invest. So I figured that it would be a good idea to use, even if you don't use the app itself, to save your pennies. Another thing that we've been doing over the last few years, anytime we have cash, we will pull out the $5 bills and put them away in an envelope in a drawer. This came in really handy this summer because there's a lot of places, camping places, that don't take credit cards, so cash from a $5 savings plan like this really came in handy. So gear is one of the more expensive parts of travel and adventure. So if you're camping, you need things like a tent and sleeping bags. Then there's other activities like snowshoeing or even just hiking. And a good pair of hiking boots can make or break an experience. So it's definitely a good thing to invest in, as well as a jacket. But the really cool thing about outdoorsy people is that they want you to get outside, and they want you to have the right gear so you'll do it again. Places like REI and Jack's will rent you almost anything that you need, and I bet there's one near you. So my local Estes Park Mountain Shop will rent you anything from snow pants to a 6-person tent, and then they'll show you the best places to go in the area. So if there's something that you just want to try out, I would definitely suggest gear rentals. So the last couple of years, REI has opted out of Black Friday and closed their doors and have asked their customers to get outside. So this year we unplugged and went up to Hermit Park Open Space, and a day pass cost me $6, and then we had it till noon the next day. So in the morning, I went and utilized the extra time that we had and went on a run down another trail that we hadn't explored the day before, and then checked out some of the campsites. So even though this is just down the road from where we live, we'll definitely be utilizing the spaces this next summer. The Estes Park Mountain Shop also does a gear swap a couple times a year where you can bring in your used gear for resale, and the money that they get from that goes to their scholarship program. So this is a really good way of getting gear pretty cheap. And also you can check your local buy-sell trades on Facebook, and as well as garage sales and thrift stores. More times than not, people will buy gear brand new in the hopes of using it, and then they don't use it at all or only use it once or twice. So once you have the gear, or you're renting the gear, or whatever you're doing, the sky's the limit, really. Now all you need to do is find the time. So this summer, we made a local list, which ended up being places within 2 to 5 hours of where we live, and depending on how much time we had to go somewhere. So surprisingly enough, with 1 to 3 days vacation time, we were able to accomplish almost all the trips that were 2 to 3 hours away or under. So this was with 3 kids, under 6, and 2 dogs. Dogs are allowed in Colorado's national parks and its 8 national monuments, but they are prohibited from going on any of the trails, so they have to stay in the campgrounds and on paved roads. But they are allowed to explore wherever you go in Colorado's 42 state parks and its 11 national forests, where there's 160 miles worth of trails.
Do you find yourself longing for the apocalypse? I did. I was looking for a reason to live. Hi. Are you feeling tired, irritable, stressed out? You might consider nature.
From the people that brought you getting outside comes prescription strength nature.
So as goofy as this commercial is, it does have a very valid point. In 2015, around 16.1 million adults in the U.S. ages 18 and older have experienced one or more major depressive episodes that year. Now, depression is the leading cause of disability in the United States among people 15 to 44. On top of that, generalized anxiety disorder affects 6.8 million adults, yet just over 43% of them are getting help. So the point I'm actually trying to make here is very simple. Sometimes you need to change it up a little bit, and we need to step out of our comfort zone. And not even a big step. I mean, have you tried to just go outside and go for a walk and just notice the leaves on the trees? How different you feel if you did something like that? Unplugging from technology and being outside in the sun, or even if it's cloudy and just going for a short walk and breathing the fresh air, or accomplishing a little thing like a hike. It elevates your heart rate, which produces endorphins in your brain, which are mood boosters, natural mood boosters. Once you've helped yourself by going outside, you'll realize you're not the only one that needs help. I'm sure even if you haven't been getting outside a whole lot this year, you've probably noticed how mild the fall has been. In an article from the Colorado Health Institute, Chrissy Esposito discusses how over the last 30 years the average temperature in Colorado has risen 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but if Colorado was on its natural temperature progression, a rise like that would typically take thousands of years, not 30. Now, in the same article, Espinoza talks about how snow accounts for 70% of Colorado's surface water supply. With a warmer temp throughout the year, this means that the snow melts sooner in the spring, leaving not as much water for the state's forests and agricultural and human needs. So, Drier forests then lead to a greater risk of forest fire. And with the forest fire comes more smoke and ash and dust pollution. Not only are we putting massive amounts of CO2 in the air from our power plants, but we're getting air pollution from forest fires as well. And in the book, Wildlives, Thomas Lovejoy talks about all the ways you can help. He states that where precisely you start is less important than just starting. So, being informed, having the right gear, you can find out what your local conservation organizations are doing. The thing about volunteering is it's free and it's an easy way to get outside. You can invest in companies like Oboe's Footwear, who were just here in Estes Park planting trees this last September, or United by Blue, who, with every product sold, removes 1 pound of trash from the Earth's oceans and waterways. Now, Lovejoy also says that changing our relationship with nature starts at home. It's so important that you get out and explore, not just for yourself. We need to change our perspective from thinking about that we dominate this place and start thinking that we're a part of this place. It was here and thriving, probably better, long before we were. In aiding our planet, we also save ourselves. So, the adventure is afoot, my friends. Go out there and find yours.